Hi, have you noticed that as you're going through your breakup, your emotions can be all over the place, can feel like they're driving the car and not you, and it makes it really frustrating and really overwhelming, and it actually adds to a lot of confusion as we're trying to get clear so we can figure out what we're going to do next. If that is you, you've come to the right place. Today we're going to talk about an exercise that's going to help you pick apart some of that emotion, take a look at it, and begin to do something with it. Hi, my name is Olivia. I am passionate about helping you understand what relational trauma is, how to overcome it, and ultimately how to move on with your life. All of this is going to come from I Can't Believe How Much This Hurts. There's a course that I'll put in the link that's 75% off. You can also find the book on Amazon, which I'll link as well. Today is an exercise that actually starts kind of on page 6. It's chapter 1, and it's all looking at grief. So we know grief is like an orb of emotions. When you're experiencing grief, sometimes you're happy, sometimes you're sad, sometimes you're terrified, sometimes you're furious, sometimes you're angry or disappointed. There's a lot of hurt, there's a lot of fear, right? There's just so many emotions that go along with grief or that grieving process, and that can really complicate our ability to move forward. So today, this is a simple exercise that does just take your time. You don't really need anything fancy. And again, just a reminder, this is not therapy. I cannot be your therapist, but I can give you an exercise that if you feel like you're in a spot where you could do it, you could try it. If it's overwhelming, take a break. And if it becomes too overwhelming, then I encourage you to seek help from a professional in your area, like a therapist, or maybe even a grief support group would be a great thing that you could join. So we're going to jump right in. The exercise is really a way to start identifying and separating some of these orb of emotions, because you can't really deal with that because it's too shifty. It's changing all the time. Plus, it's in some ways it repeats, but then it doesn't, right? This is all part of the confusion. So what we're going to do is start to pull some emotions out, and we're going to set them on the table, and we're going to start dealing with those emotions separately. That's going to help us to really kind of spread it out and be like, oh, this is what I'm looking at. This makes a lot more sense, and I can do something with this. So for this exercise, you can use different things. You can get some 3x5 index cards. You could get just a sheet of paper. It could be a piece of computer paper. You get a piece of notebook paper. Either way, you just need paper, or you need a 3x5 index card. I really recommend doing the pen and paper method because you want to be able to lay it out like on a table, a desk, a floor, and you want to be able to look at it. So that's one thing you're going to need. The next thing is you either want two like containers. You could get shoe boxes. You could get Tupperware, Ziploc baggies, folders. Either way, there's just two separate sets to contain either the 3x5 cards or your notebook paper. And then this is what you're going to do. There is a list of emotions, which I'm going to list through here too. It comes from page 8 of I Can't Believe How Much This Hurts. And really, you could add any other emotion you feel. It's really hard because a lot of times we don't have vocabulary for all the emotion, right? Most times we know I'm happy, I'm mad, or sometimes I know how to say sad. Other than that, I don't really have a lot of vocabulary for emotion. So this is really where it can help us because it's expanding our vocabulary so we can begin to express and think about and talk about what we're feeling. So I'm going to go through this list of emotions. These are the emotions that you're going to write on one side of the index card or at the top of your sheet of paper. So remember, you can use 3x5 cards or any type of a card or a piece of paper. So at the one side, you're going to write the emotion. The other side is going to be for your thoughts. If you're using the paper method, at the top, you're going to write the emotion. And then on the paper itself, you're going to write your thoughts. And you could staple as many papers as you need for those thoughts or as many cards together as go with that emotion, or rubber band them together. Okay, so this is going to make more sense in just a second. So the first emotion is shock. So you're going to write shock on one side of your index card or shock at the top of your paper. Okay, so that's going to be true for every single emotion we're going to talk about. So shock, scared, right? What are you scared of? Regret, disappointment. And as we go through, you can pause the video and write that on your card, or you could also get the book off Amazon. Regret, disappointment, insecure, Embarrassment. Sometimes we have some embarrassment when we reflect back over a relationship. Ashamed, irritated, anxious, alone, frustrated, denial, sad, angry, lost. So those are a few. Those are ways we can feel, right? You could feel embarrassed. You could feel shamed. You could feel lost. You could feel really alone. So that's very different than I'm really mad at them for leaving me. I'm really mad that they couldn't get it together so we could be together. Or I'm really mad at myself that I blew it, right? Instead of that, let me look at where the shame's coming from. Let me look at what is the sadness I'm experiencing. Let me look at the loneliness I experience, maybe in the relationship, outside of it. So once you go through and write out those emotions, either on one side of the card or at the top of the paper, then we're going to put all those emotions on the table. So that's all those pieces of paper, or that's all the index cards. You could put it on the floor, on your bed, on the table. You could put it anywhere, right? But you really want to lay it out. And then in your two containers, one is how you're feeling now, and one is how I'm not experiencing these emotions. So at first you start with all of them. And you'll notice typically when your breakup is more recent, you're feeling the majority of them. But as you kind of go, you're not feeling as many. So wherever you're at today in this moment, as I lay these emotions out, which ones am I feeling? So you're going to pick up all the ones that you're feeling right now. You're going to put those in your container of what I'm feeling. The rest, you're going to put in the other container in I'm not feeling. Okay. So if you go back and watch the prior video, we talked about setting boundaries with our grief, and that we would schedule time to do grief work. This is the grief work. This is part of it. So if I said I'm going to do my grief work Tuesdays at 6 o'clock, this is an exercise that I'm going to do. So here it is, Tuesday, 6 o'clock. I'm going to get the I feel these emotions right now container out. I'm going to lay them out. Which of these am I feeling? And I'm going to choose some and start to write about it, right? So let's say shock. I feel like I'm in shock. I still can't believe it. I still go to call, this person. I still am not sure if it's real. I'm not sure if whatever I'm just thinking around the emotion of shock, I'm just going to get it out of my head and I'm just going to write and write and write and write. And then when I feel like, okay, I don't really have any more to say about that, I'm going to pick my next one. And maybe my next one is, ashamed. So then I'm going to say, I feel shame over the way I responded. Bam, 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 bam. This situation, I'm really ashamed of my own behavior and I have a lot of regret, right? Or I'm ashamed that I let my values go. Or I'm ashamed of the way you treated whatever person and I feel like I allowed it. Whatever the shame is you're feeling around any situation you had or are having even now. It could even be, I'm ashamed to tell people we're done. I'm ashamed to be single again. I'm ashamed to be going through a divorce again. Whatever the shame is, this is just for you. So you could write as much of that and just get it out of there. Remember, if you go back to the prior video and we said that, let's say I'm trying to work and I get like this emotion that comes up. And instead of just allowing that emotion to sweep me away and ruin my day, I'm going to say, thank you, brain. You reminded me of this emotion. I'm going to file that away, or this memory. And when I do my grief work on Tuesday at 6, I'm going to take that emotion out and deal with it. So I might even put a note in my phone, scared. Deal with scared. I might quickly write down the thoughts so that I can really work through that when I do my grief work. So again, your grief work could be multiple times in a day. It could be multiple times in a week. But typically, as you heal, you need less time. And I really like to set a timer. So I'm saying, okay, I'm going to do my grief work, but I'm giving it 20 minutes when I'm doing my grief work. And I'm going to set a timer on my phone. And when my timer goes off, I'm going to let myself off the hook and be done. Or if I feel like I want to continue to go, I'm going to make that decision and I'm going to keep going, right? It's really just up to you. But definitely it helps it not to feel so overwhelming when like, I'm just doing 20 minutes. I don't have to sit here and like relive all of this and I'm too scared to face it, right? But if it's like, okay, I can write about shock for 20 minutes, no problem. Or I can write about a couple emotions for 20 minutes, no problem. And then when it's done, whatever I'm still feeling, I gather up, I put it in the I'm feeling. And as I start to pull stuff out, so let's say it's been like 4 weeks of doing grief work, and I have these emotions out on the table and I realize I just don't feel this anymore. I haven't related to this for like a couple times of doing grief work. I don't really feel that anymore. I'm going to move that to don't feel anymore, right? Or you can even write not currently haunted by, for your container label. Any way you want to label it, just to show the distinction between like, I'm still going through it, I'm not going through it as much. The other thing is, if you file away an emotion, then you have a moment where it comes up for you, pull it out, put it back on the table because it's there, right? It's better to just try to be as real and honest with yourself and put out on the table what you're experiencing. So this is where it's helpful through the week. As an emotion comes up and you're like, whoa, I haven't felt that yet. That's in my I don't feel anymore box. Take it back out, put it back on the table and write about it. Because every time you face it and every time you write out what it is that is associated with that emotion, a piece of you starts to heal. So this is why grief work is so powerful. It's so effective. Part of it is you're just giving voice to the reality of your situation, and it helps you to almost embrace it and accept it so that you can let it go. You can't let go of something you're not holding on to, even though it's in you, right? So this is where it's powerful to lay it on the table and be like, wow, it's amazing I can get up and go to work every day, that I'm feeling all of this. Like, I'm really proud of myself. Or, wow, I used to feel so much and now I'm down to like 1 or 2 emotions. Like, I never thought I would get here. Or, oh, it's great that I'm doing this exercise because I actually have a ton of emotion that I need to get through and work through. So this is a great tip and a trick that you can do. It's simple. You don't have to have, a ton of money to be able to do this exercise. You could go to the dollar store, or if you have computer paper, access to a notebook. I would not say to do it on a computer. I think that people are very creative, so I wouldn't say that doesn't work or that's totally off the table. Maybe you have a way of putting all the emotion on a screen and then you can move stuff around. People are very creative. So I just know old school, put it on the table and look at it is very eye-opening and impactful. But, if you're like, oh, no, I'm digital solely, I prefer it, try it. Try it and you'll know, because you'll begin to see the emotion move. You'll begin to experience some relief or some reprieve from it. So if you're not, then maybe switch to pen and paper, whether that's the index card method or you want to do it on sheets of paper. So I hope you find this helpful. If you're going through a breakup, I am, again, so sorry. It's super terrible and awful, but I do trust that you're going to find your way. You're going to get through it. Again, if it's too overwhelming, seek help. There are other resources and links that are going to be in the description. I hope you take good care of yourself because you're grieving, and I'm going to see you in the next one.